Shootin the Shiznit, Shootin the Shiznit, best little wrestling podcast in the business. Your host BT, and all his guests. You'll never know who he'll have next. Shootin the Shiznit, Shootin the Shiznit, best little wrestling podcast in the business. Shootin the Shiznit.
All right. We're live from 304 Studios in Jonesboro, Arkansas. This is a STSpod.club production. I'm BT. This is the flagship show, Shootin the Shiznit. And that guy right over there is my good friend, my old friend. We're both old. Gene Jackson. How the hell are you, brother?
I'm great, man. We got to see each other live in person for the first time, and I don't even know when, dude. I mean, we've done these podcasts for years, but I don't think we've actually seen each other in person. And
Starcast.
Starcast. Yep, you're right.
That was
I'm
it.
thinking back to like 20-something years ago. But yes, we saw each other at Starcast. So
that was the last time. But yesterday in Jonesboro, Arkansas, we had the Legends of Memphis Wrestling FanFest. We did not go. Neither one of us went to the wrestling show for the night. And I did look at the attendance. There were so many people in that building, which is good for them. But I'm glad I didn't go because I hate the heat. And I hate a bunch of people all in a closed room together. Yeah. So I couldn't have done it anyway. But you arrived a little bit earlier than me. Before we go any further, there's two things I want to say. I want to shout out to Gun Show because I want him and everyone else jealous because Gene got to go to Pizza Inn. There you go. And a shout out to Kathy Sue, who took a picture with me and said, "You are somebody." She actually said, "You are somebody." And we both want to thank the world champion for taking a picture with us. We appreciate that.
now I have to correct you on something that wasn't true. What you just said right
there.
All right.
T.
She didn't take a picture with you. I had to take like a dozen pictures of you and her before she approved like 4 of them. It was like a damn photo shoot over there in front of the curtain.
You had that look on your face like, shit, come on, lady. What the hell's the deal? And so I put here's what the thing is. Oh, God, I'm going to get embarrassed if she listens to this. But I put my hand around her, and she put her hand on my hand. I was like, well, whoa now. Come on now. And the wife said, don't make me go put somebody in a headlock. I said, it was a joke. It was just a picture because she's in Memphis Wrestling. But shout out to Kathy Sue.
I won't tell my joke that I said as we were standing there when I said you were supposed to be pointing at her and you said no. And then I said, oh, you probably were after all. But yeah.
She ignored you. And then I said, you didn't hear that, did you? She said, oh, yeah, I heard it.
Well, she was too busy checking the pictures for approval.
Yeah,
anyway, seemed like a nice lady. That's the first time I met her too. But
yeah.
I didn't have enough time in the day to ask to take a picture with her. It ended at 4, and it was only
right.
quarter to 4.
I had that photo shoot. I didn't know I was going to a photo shoot, but I did. So tell me, you arrived before I did. I actually was a paying customer. We'll talk about that on Patreon. I don't want to say anything negative until we get to Patreon, and then I'll talk negative.
You want to hear Brian talk smack?
You want to hear
a
BT rant? You're going to have to.
Well, to be clear, I have nothing negative to say. So please listen to the Patreon for BTs, but I have nothing but good things to say.
All right, so. Good deal. All right, go ahead. Tell me about arriving. You went around and took pictures with everybody.
I got there. So the load in was at 9. The convention started at 10. We got there right at 9 o'clock. Got our table set up. Didn't take very long. So I told Rosie, I'm gonna run around here and say hey to a few people and see if I can snag a few pictures before, in case there is a big crowd. Because me and you were debating, was there going to be a crowd? Was there not? Would they come in early or late? You never know with these things. So. I ran around there before the doors even opened and pretty much got to say hey and take pictures with just about everybody I wanted to. Jimmy Hart, the King, the grappler Lynn Denton, who's a super nice guy.
Oh, my God. Awesome.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to tell my I don't know. Story.
I don't know why that I just assumed that Lynn Denton would be kind of a standoffish kind of guy, But holy cow, man, I stood there and talked to him for a while. Just the nicest guy in the world. And I was such a big fan of the grappler from
Me too.
all,
Huge
I mean,
fan,
from
yeah.
Mid-South and Portland and Memphis and Continental and just all the places. And he just about hit every territory, honestly.
Yep.
Who else? And then a lot of, the local guys that I've known over the years. Greg Anthony, me and Greg Anthony realized that that's the first time me and him ever met in person. Known each other for years.
I'm sorry about that.
We've done countless podcasts, but we met in person, and then I took one with just me and him. And then eventually, me, you, and him took one with that ginormous freaking.
I want you to, you don't even have to say his name. You don't have to refer just say the world champ or the champ. That's all you had.
The champ.
Everybody will know who you're talking about.
The champ was there, as they say. Saw Bam Bam Bundy, Johnny Morton. By the end of the day, I got to see my old friend, my old tag team partner from Mississippi, Alan Steele was there. Man, how great to see Alan. Such a good guy, such a good wrestler.
Yes.
So that was cool. I can't remember. Tommy Rich and Doug Gilbert. I was right next to them, and we'll have a little more to say about Doug here in a little while.
Yeah.
But we'll save that till later in the podcast, I suppose. But a lot of cool vendors there. There was a few tables of straight up like baseball cards. I was kind of perplexed about that.
I made a note of that. And then the wife said she was sitting waiting on me to come out. I came in for a couple hours and saw my friends and kind of left because it was getting hot. I hate heat. But she said she was waiting on me, but some guy walked out with a bunch of comic books. And she said, why is there comic books in there? And I was like, no, I don't know. I don't know what was going on with that. So there's comic books, baseball cards. And I talked to those guys with the baseball cards. One of them actually said, I know your name. I know who you are. And I was like, man, I don't know how you
said,
do.
Say my name.
I told him that there's no truth to the rumors on Google. So don't believe what they said about me.
What is the version of Arkansas's Bama Busted? We have a paper here in Alabama called Bama Busted that shows the mug shots. I'm assuming.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I don't think we do that unless somebody does it on a.
Well, because it would probably be, 100 pages a week. But anyway, just kidding. Arkansas is a wonderful place.
Well, I was talking about that. You came in and kind of surprised at the size of Jonesboro, right?
I was. I was. So as a kid, and where I grew up, we had a Pizza Inn, and then they all eventually disappeared from Mississippi. Then I moved to Alabama. They had one in Huntsville, and I get to Alabama, and they shut down the one in Huntsville, and I've been chasing them ever since. And so I found out that they had one, or had two, actually, in Jonesboro. And so I just told Rose, well, I'm sorry, I apologize, but we're eating at Pizza Inn. Number one, because I don't ever get it. I love it. And two, it'll drive my friend Bob crazy because he can't have one. And she said, well, that's fine. Jonesboro's not very big. There probably ain't gonna be a lot of good places to eat anyway. And then as we get off the exit to go find our hotel, I mean, it's just every restaurant you could ever name. I mean, it's mostly chain stuff. I didn't see a whole lot of like local things. I mean, there was, but any kind of chain restaurant. I mean, I really would struggle to come up with a chain restaurant that you guys don't have there.
Applebee's. We don't have Applebee's, damn it.
Really?
I love Applebee's. And
you're not missing anything these days, or at least the one in Gadsden.
Do not.
The one in Gadsden has gone way downhill.
Look,
okay.
Boo. We ate in Evansville at Applebee's
twice.
All
right.
I love Applebee's. Our service was fantastic. 2 thumbs up in Evansville. So visit the Applebee's.
I was gonna say, I can't wait till you add the Applebee's logo here to the screen. And welcome to Shootin The Shiznit, brought to you by Applebee's. Eating good in the neighborhood over there at the Arabella Community Center in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Pizza
Real
Inn,
cool to go there.
Hey, Pizza Inn, give me a call. We'll get some sponsorship going. That's one of my.
Heck yeah.
I changed my, started trying to lose weight, and I haven't been to the Pizza Inn buffet since February of last year. I am 40-something pounds less, but damn it, I love the Pizza Inn buffet. So there you
goodness. Go. Well, I haven't been to Applebee's since last year. So
now I want to ask you, what do you think about Cracker Barrel? We turned this completely into just fast food review show. All right, let's
Shootin The Shiznit with two fat guys, or one former fat guy.
I'm fat.
One recovering,
still,
attempting to stop being so fat. But
what do they say, BMI? They look at BMI and I go, there's no fucking way I could be 180 pounds. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah.
I usually add 30 pounds and say, okay, that's my BMI. That's it right there. I came in, I got to go around and I was going to, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but almost all the guys, the workers, knew by association with Memphis Wrestling and the content that I provide. I thought it was weird because every one of them that did know who I was made a point to come up to me, and I'm not going to mention any names or anything, but come up to me and go, you know what? I don't work with Dustin. I'm not working with Dustin, but I got no heat with Dustin. But I'm never going to work with Johnny Dotson. So apparently everybody knows we got a feud with Johnny Dotson against Dustin Starr and promotional. It makes me feel like it actually, Memphis Wrestling compared to what they're doing, it is almost like, what are we going to look at? See, WWE, and then we got, no offense, but we got the Champs show in Dyersburg. So that's kind of what, I don't see it's really not competition. There's a lot of stuff that goes on backstage with all that stuff, and we hardly ever talk about what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. But they made a point to tell me that they like Dustin. And then I swear, without me saying a word, but I can't work with that fucking Johnny Dotson. Almost everybody said it. I was like, okay. I said I can't work with Johnny neither because he wanted to whip my ass. But I thought that was it. I don't know if they were just trying to get on my side. I don't know, because I was there right in front of them or what, but every one of them seemed to want to tell me that.
They're trying to get on the show.
Well, there was a few of them that, when I gave the business card, call me. You just never know what'll end up from all of that. But I went around to look at people, spend some time with you and Rosie, and didn't say hi to anyone except a few of the guys that I know. But I did spend time with Lynn Denton. And I loved that guy growing up. He was huge with the grapplers. Just one of those fantastic teams. Dirty White Boys. Lynn booked Portland. I think he told me he booked Kansas City too at one time.
Yeah, I remember reading that in his book, which is a great book, folks. If you get a chance, check it out.
I'll put a link to that book. He had a lot of fun stuff on the table. Even had a grappler's mask, and after I got home, I wished I would have got one.
I've got one over on the other side of the room that I already had. I walked up to him. I was like, man, I've already got a book. I've got a signed picture, and I've got a mask. I was like, but I don't have a picture with you. And he's like, well, come on around here. Let's fix that. And we took a picure and stood around and talked.
He was,
like I said, I don't know why. I was expecting him to be a little standoffish, like, if you ain't buying nothing, get away from my table. But not at all. He was going to heal you, huh? Yeah.
We talked about he's going to be coming on the podcast, so I'm excited about that with him. I have tons and tons of questions for him. I'll have to get my timelines. I'll have to get my timelines all straight because I can't remember shit. So, hey, let's take a quick commercial. When we come back for the commercial, if you're watching this live on Facebook, we're going to broadcast at least 60 minutes of the regular feed if we go that long. And I've been told I usually don't go that long. Oh, wait. I was supposed to hit the drumstick with that one. Hold on.
We went 2 hours on the old USWA podcast, brother.
There we go. Oh, all right. Stop. But when we come back, I'll talk about some more of what happened when I was there. So, all right. Commercial break right now.
Memphis Wrestling is hotter than ever. Sunday, July 14th is Memphis Wrestling XL, featuring former AEW and WWE star Parker Boudreaux, plus TNA wrestling star Marty Bell. Thursday, August 8th, Memphis Wrestling is coming to the Benton County Fair in Camden, Tennessee. Saturday, August 10th, it's Rumble on the Trail, Part 2, benefiting St. Jude, featuring Tommy Dreamer. All tickets are on sale now. Get yours right now at memphiswrestling.tv.
All right, back from commercial break. I want to do some business right here. Me and Gene, I want to ask Gene some questions. This is business. So remember, this is episode 849. Can you believe that, Gene?
Jeez,
849.
Lord.
I will be releasing episode 850 on 4th of July. It's our 8th annual Great American Bloopers and Outtakes. Everybody loves it because they get to listen to me fuck up and cuss and everything else. And then I've got 4 episodes that were in, I put them all together, the Patreon version, or just the Patreon extra stuff that was in all episodes. Memphis in May, since it was so good, what we wanted to do is put the Patreon stuff. I ask everybody there 5 questions, the wrestlers, and then Steve Crawford, who is also a buddy of yours, Steve Crawford is, we talk about the con. There's some stuff on that Evansville con that I didn't reveal until we started. And I think I called somebody a POS. I think I do. I'm not sure, but I might. So tell us about your business. Tell us about USWA. And I was a guest. I absolutely loved it. And also you got a brand new, you released information yesterday, a brand new podcast. And this, all right, go ahead. You talk about it. I'll shut the fuck up.
Okay. So we are, I have to try to keep this straight as far as what's aired and what hasn't, but I think we are 6 episodes into the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. And what that is, we started, the intention is we're going to do weekly reviews of all the USWA podcasts, or all the USWA episodes. Maybe not 1990. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But we decided to start in 1993 since we felt like that was the most, well-known year as far as names coming through, the whole WWF invasion and that sort of thing. So we started in January. My regular co-hosts are 2 guys you're very aware of from P3 Radio, Josh Briley and Richard Mulliken. I have them on weekly when I can, but sometimes those guys have other things going on, and I bring on guest hosts such as Coach BT,
me,
such as
the
Willie
one and
Russell.
only.
I've got a new episode coming out soon where we had Jimmy Street and Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab, which has got a ton of old school wrestling footage, and he's known amongst people in the Nashville area. So what we do, and Brian can kind of attest to this, we take that week's episode, we each watch it. This isn't one of those watch along things, and we may do some of that in the future in special episodes, but we each watch the podcast. Then we come on and we discuss it. We show clips, some of the highlights, and then we talk about it. And at the end, I ask my co-host, whether it's my regular mentor or somebody like BT, I'll say, hey, what was it really that good?
No.
Yeah. I mean, I don't claim this is an original concept. I told BT a year ago, like, hey, I'm probably going to, since we're not doing it anymore, since you ditched me and you got all this other shit going on, I'm going to just steal our old was it really that good concept and use it for something else. And it took me a year, but I finally got around to it. But yeah, I asked them what was your favorite, what was the least favorite part, what was your favorite part. And since the weekly episodes of USWA only served as a commercial for that Monday night's card or around the horn, whatever town you're in, that week's card, Evansville, Nashville, on down the line, would you have been inspired to buy a ticket to go see it? And it's been a lot of fun. We're getting a lot of great feedback. I heard from a lot of people yesterday at the convention, be it, listeners and other wrestlers. And I've talked to a couple that are wanting to come on and be guests. And I'm also going to interview people like next week's episode that comes out. I believe it's episode 7. It's going to be a full episode interview with Wolfie D, where we break down the beginnings of PG-13.
I'm so excited about that.
He goes in depth on that music video that me and Brian watched on his episode. He talks about how it was made and some of some pretty fun details about that. So really, really happy with that episode. Wolfie's a great guy, and he really dug deep and told us everything you could think of about the formation of PG-13 and beyond that. that's what we got going on with the USWA podcast. It's been doing pretty well. We're building up a pretty decent little following pretty quick. Several people had told me, maybe somebody on the screen was like, I can't imagine anybody ever listened to a USWA podcast. And I wasn't sure they would either, but I just knew that, there's tons of 80s Memphis podcasts out there. I'm even a co-host of one of those. And how many goddamn interview shows can you have? There's only so many wrestlers to interview, and there's only so many answers they have to so many questions. And after you've heard them, you've heard them. So I thought, what's something that hasn't been done? I'm like, nobody's really touched the USWA. It's all brand new.
And I told you this, 1993 was
somebody
weird.
started doing 94 or 92.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to come after them. But anyway.
93 was a year that I had a lot of stuff going on in my shoot life, and I didn't watch wrestling, but I had told Bruno this, and I don't know if he was standing over there, between 78, and I probably already told you this, between 78 and probably 1990 or 1991, I had missed, I think, 3 Memphis wrestling shows. So avid fan, excited about 1993, and I marked out because that was the debut, the show that I review was the debut of PG-13's video, not them wrestling, but their video, and I just loved it.
And that's what I've had a lot of people tell me that either A, they had kind of checked out of wrestling during that time, and they're going back and watching it now, and it's all kind of new to them, or young people who it was way before their time, and they're getting to go back and see all this for the first time, and they say they're enjoying it. So we're having a lot of fun. So if you haven't, you can go to uswapodcast.com, and all our links are there to all our social medias.
I'm actually watching it. I tried to watch it on Tuesday, knowing y'all come out every Wednesday. I'm going to go through 1993 with y'all, and in case you need somebody too, but I don't remember it. I told somebody yesterday, Honky Tonk Man walking on the set, I never knew that even happened. So
I can't tell you how many people have messaged me saying that. And 2 or 3 people walked up the table here. So they're like, if you would have told me, if you'd put a gun in my head and be like, okay, was Honky Tonk Man ever in the USWA or ever back in Memphis after, the Blonde Bombers era, once he became Honky Tonk Man? And they're like, I would have said no, and I would have been confident in that answer, and I would have been totally wrong. And I had forgotten it, honestly, until we go back and started watching it. But yeah, I enjoy it because, usually BT's following along with us, and then me and him will have a little fun conversation after he watches it, and then the podcast, and we'll talk about it. And I tell you what, I really appreciate. I really hope this keeps going. But a lot of the listeners, be it just straight up wrestling fans, or people like you, Brian, that's been in and around the business,
right,
people who were there in the USWA at the time, will reach out to me and go, hey, I heard you say on the podcast you wondered who was booking, or you wondered where this guy came from.
Yeah,
and they're giving me all this great info, and then I come back on the podcast the next episode, and I'm able to go back and share that with the listeners. And I enjoy it just for my own personal knowledge, but then being able to go back and share it with everybody, and then hear other people message me, go, oh, hey, I didn't know that. That's fun.
I pick things out that I find just odd in the episode, and most of the time you, Richard, or Josh pick it out. But sometimes, like this past week on Wednesday's show, you had Bert came out with boxing gloves to promote a boxing match, and then when his opponent's going to be Miss Jackie to come out, and she had boxing gloves, but Bert didn't. I was like, they only had one set of boxing gloves.
And they weren't just your average color boxing gloves. They were almost kind of maroon more than red. They were absolutely the same pair of boxing gloves. And hope they found another set by Monday.
I had asked Bruno yesterday. We're spending all this time talking about USPL. That's okay. Who gives a shit? Look, enjoy the podcast. Shut the hell up. I just cut somebody.
We're going to go the hour, folks. Don't worry.
I said, Bruno, with the little singlet and everything, I said, I loved that interview. It was just so crazy and funny. I said, there was a video of you, and I couldn't think of his name. I was like, who was it? He said, Howard Finkel. I said, yeah, there was video of you and Howard Finkel at a TV taping. I said, did y'all did y'all tape that before, way before? Because that's what y'all mentioned. And I was just asking if he remembered it. And Bruno says, I don't remember. There's so much going on. I have no idea. So, and then we talked about Howard Finkel, that he really was excited about. I said he was excited about coming in. He goes, yeah, because we all knew that Finkel was watching all the tapes. He got the tapes.
Yeah.
Was reading the kayfabe sheets. He was doing it all. And then he would report to Vince what he had learned. So, crazy. That's
You mentioned Bruno. Can I digress and tell a fun story here?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so folks, this is kind of fun, I think, anyway, because I want to tell this right now because I want to clarify to Brian, this was not a reverse rib, because in the moment I think Brian probably thought, oh, Gene ribbed me instead. But so I've met Bruno a few times, probably 15, 20 years ago. He did my podcast to promote his book, Cheap Heat Radio. I don't even know when. It would have been like 2010, maybe 2011.
Jeez. Yeah.
And so I always just assume that people either don't know me or are not going to remember me. So I was listening to Bruno on Wolfie D's podcast on 2 different episodes. Bruno was just going in on Eric Embry and how he disliked him, how shitty Eric Embry was to him in Memphis and all this. And so I had told Brian, and I told Jimmy, and I even told Wolfie, I was like, hey, I want to rib Bruno. Like, Brian is pretty good buddies with Bruno, and so I'm going to have him go up and go, hey, I want to introduce you to this friend of mine. And when I shake his hand, inevitably, I'm going to go, hey, Bruno, I think you know my dad. And then when he goes, who's your dad? I'm go, he's Eric Embry. And then we'll watch. And Wolfie's like, oh, God, you got to record that. It'll be great. Y'all have some fun with that. And so that was the plan. And so we even go as far as to get like another guy to like get my camera and start recording. And we go over there and Brian's like, hey, man, I want to introduce you to my friend. And Bruno's like, yeah, I know Gene Jackson. I seen you sitting down there. I thought we had heat or something. Just wondering why you weren't speaking to me. And we're both just like I didn't have any idea he would remember who the hell I was.
You were. I just want everybody to know you still was. You were the champ at that moment because you kept on with the rib. Even
because he goes, I know Gene Jackson. I go, well, of course you know Gene Jackson because you know my dad. And he goes, who's your dad? And I go, Eric Embry. And he goes.
He said, I thought we were friends.
I thought we were friends.
Me and you, I thought we were friends.
I haven't edited the video yet, but I'm going to put that up because, he goes, I thought we were friends. But I've always, man, since I was a little kid, I remember me and my dad watching Downtown Bruno out there with Big Bubba and Goliath. And my dad would always go around the house going, like Mama says, it bees that way sometimes.
I confirmed that with him, that we talked about Goliath. I think it's on that episode with him, but I did confirm it with him yesterday that was one of the guys that he doesn't have any idea what happened to him, but he really thought after he refined his skills and everything, he would have he could have made some money at the size he was.
I mean, he had a great run as Moondog Splat, so
I told him I loved him as Splat. Lynn Denton, I talked to him about a few things, and I had this was my first question, and I actually made it PG-13, not Wolfie and Jamie, but I asked him if it was true that a lot of the guys went to Portland for one reason and one reason only. Is because there were a lot of beautiful women. Now, we called them something else back in the day, Rizats. And so, but I said, and he said, 100% true. But he said that Don, and I had read something yesterday, right before I went, but he said Don Owen was one of those guys that paid really well.
And every book I've ever read from Portland guys have always, I've never heard anybody complain about payoffs in Portland, which is rare.
Yeah. And I'm going to save, I asked him a few other questions. I'll save those when we get to bring him on, but just such a super friendly guy. And just, here's what I thought, Gene, he was a lot smaller than I thought he was.
Well, he didn't have that big loaded boot that he normally wore.
Oh yeah.
I gave him another foot.
But he was just a lot smaller than, in my mind, those two guys were a lot bigger than he was. I walked around, give out business cards to. I got rid of half of them, and some people looked at me like I had a booger, but I may have. Who knows? Very, very, very fun show. And you said we was wondering, how many people would show up, blah blah blah. I think we might be right in the middle. So, are there going to be a lot of people? Is there not going to be a lot of people come to the show? But when I got there, and what I saw was I seemed to be seeing the same people. I didn't see a lot of new people come in, but what would happen, Ricky Morton showed up, him and his son a little bit later. Bruno showed up a little bit later. And then everyone would migrate to that table and get their autographs and then walk around. I didn't see a lot. I estimated in the building at the FanFest, there was anywhere from 120 to 150, maybe. What do you think?
I have no idea. I've never been good at that. I don't even try. Yeah. Plus, I don't pay attention to people enough to know that if it was the same people walking in a circle or if it was a different crowd moving.
And you know why I knew that was because I was giving out business cards. So that,
and you're having people go, you already gave me one.
Yeah. Well, they didn't say that, but I remember them. I actually two-sweeted somebody, which I love to do because it's so marky, to see what their reaction is. And that guy, oh man, he was giving me mean mugging, man. He was mean.
He's like, "This is a Memphis convention, you piece of shit. What are you doing?"
Yeah, I'm serious. I was waiting for him to punch me. I said, "Too sweet," and then I said, he walked by. People don't do that.
He's
anymore. Yeah, he did. I was like, "Man, dude, you got angry."
He's like,
what's
he's like, "You're in King Country. Go take your ass out of here."
Did you tell what other podcasts are you going to do now?
No, we got side.
All right. Go ahead.
So, all right. So, starting in August, I'm going to be doing a podcast with Dangerous Doug Gilbert. It's going to be called Dangerous Conversations with Doug Gilbert. It's going to be a weekly podcast where me and Doug's going to sit down and we're going to tell stories about Doug's career. We're going to tell stories about Tommy and his brother, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. Just all things related to their lives and careers. And we're going to have a lot of, Doug's got a lot of friends in wrestling. So he's already talked to a few. I won't spoil it by naming any of them here, but a couple of some pretty big, substantial names, like at least one WrestleMania headliner that we're 99.9% sure is going to be joining us, maybe semi-frequently. So I'm really excited about it, man, because Doug is a guy who people either love him or they hate him, but they have some kind of feelings about him, and they're going to want to hear what he has to say. And namely, I want to hear what he has to say. I told you before we started recording, I've told several buddies of mine, I was a huge fan of Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, to the point that I worked on, writing a book about him that didn't get completed for various reasons we won't go into right now. Perhaps that'll be an episode of the Doug Gilbert podcast. I'm quite sure at some point, maybe the last one. We'll see.
Ask him about that barbed wire bat he tried to put up my house.
We'll ask him
about that.
Oh Lord, I didn't know you'd go there. But anyway, there's a lot to cover. But like I said, I've got a lot of. Just the first few episodes, I've got a ton of stuff that I want to ask. And we're going to be, so I'm getting all the social media set up for it now. We're going to have a YouTube channel. We're going to have a Facebook and Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And you can go to DougGilbertPodcast.com where there's links to all those places. Like I said, there's not a lot of content there yet because I'm just now getting it all set up because we just announced it yesterday live in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Jonesboro.
But, we're going to be getting all that going. We're going to be taking questions. So, hey, if you got a question about Doug, or if it's about Eddie or Tommy or anything like that, feel free to ask. And, we're going to be working them in because I don't know about you. I do know about you. I don't have to say this. These aren't going to be 6-hour marathons every week.
Right on.
We're going to keep them to a reasonable time frame because we know everybody's got lives and there's 5,000 podcasts and BT's got 3 or 4 a week you got to listen to. We're not going to have you listen to me and Doug talk for, half a work shift. We're going to be reasonable about it. So if you send in your question, it may take a little while for it to get on, but I promise it will get on, unless it's just something dumb. Don't ask dumb questions. That's something interesting that everybody want to know.
I have found interviewing guys that grew up in the business, like their dad was wrestlers or their brother was a wrestler, and they actually grow up. Their perspective of the business and what was going on is, we've interviewed a couple of guys who say, well, the wrestlers were just my dad's friends and stuff like that. But it's a lot of stuff. And a lot of stuff, I mean, I've never heard a bad word about Tommy Gilbert. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on. Also, when we were talking before we started the show, do you remember they did something? Eddie and Doug did something in Puerto Rico too, where they walked out and did a shoot or something.
I think you're thinking of the one in Japan. Where
maybe
Wing
for Wing.
For Wing, they pulled off the monster mask and revealed who they were, and that's definitely a story we'll get Doug to tell. It's a pretty fascinating story. I've heard it because the only place that Doug has really told any significant amount of stories, he did an RF shoot years ago. But let's be honest, not that many people see those shoot interviews, on a mass scale. So the average wrestling fan wasn't ordering shoot interviews from Rob Feinstein, 15, 20 years ago when he recorded that.
Right.
It is. That's a very interesting story. And there's so many others that, we're going to get to. We can't get to all of them in the first week or two because there's going to be folks like, well, why didn't you talk about this? Well, we'll get there.
You can do a whole episode.
It's like a wrestling match. You gotta build to it. It's not a Young Buck match. We're not going to hit the high spot in the opening few minutes. Sorry, Lance.
Anyway. Damn you.
But yeah, I'm excited for it, man. But if you want to listen to any of my podcast, and then just like with the USWA, we're going to have an audio version coming out on WrestleCopia every week. We haven't set the day yet. I got to get with Ray Russell on that. But we're also going to have the video version over on the YouTube channel for Doug. We're going to set up a YouTube channel. We're going to have the video version of the podcast. We're going to start uploading his matches on there. Of course, I've got a treasure trove of USWA and all kinds of matches of him and Eddie and all kinds of stuff. We'll start putting up on the YouTube channel, and me and him will do some like watch along stuff of some of his stuff that maybe we'll put the Wing. We'll do an episode on it, and then maybe we'll watch a video of the Wing incident and let him kind of break it down in real time.
And he is part of when it comes to Memphis wrestling history. He's part of one of the biggest angles of all time. And I'll be interested to hear him talk about it because here's what I remember is Eddie saying that was Doug's idea about running over Jerry Lawler. So my favorite part of that story. Here's the only spoiler we'll give to that. If you know what Brian's referring to, when Eddie and Doug ran down Jerry Lawler with a car in the TV5 parking lot. After they hit him with the car, Eddie goes up right to the edge of Union Avenue. Doug's looking back. Eddie goes, "Is he okay?" And Doug says, "I think you killed him." And they wheeled out of the parking lot. It's a hell of a story. So, don't go checking on him. Let's just get the hell out of here.
We got to go.
Hell of a bump from the King there. That was was fucking scary, man. That was really scary. Let me think. Is anything else? Did get to spend a little. I said something about Bruno. That was fun. Lynn didn't. I got to talk to him about kayfabe sheets. That a lot of the guys didn't know about the kayfabe sheets back in the day, and I told him that mainly the boys didn't really care about the gossip. When I gave somebody the kayfabe sheet, they looked at the attendance that Dave was reporting for all the territories. So if Dave had an attendance and it said that Portland was drawing, 2,000 people a week, they knew the pay would be good. So we're packing our shit up. We're going to Portland kind of thing. And then me and him talked about Houston for a little bit because Houston was one of those promotions that I would watch tapes of and was just always amazed at Paul Bosch, who was able to get world champions from everywhere and put them on shows, sometimes together. But he said that Paul Bosch told him that told his dad he would never use him because Paul Bosch didn't want anybody from the area, and he had to get famous before Paul Bush would use him. So he didn't want local people, and that's it's the same thing. Like a lot of people don't. When it comes to someone local, look, I'm doing a foreshadowing for the Patreon. When it comes to local, they could care less about the local person. But if you got somebody from New York City or has been in New York City and come down, like Russo hated Southern people. Look, where are we going with this? Bro. But yeah, I had a really good time. It was.
I meant to try to get you to put you up to going over and asking Dr. D. David Schultz if once and for all, is this wrestling fake or not, and see if we could just get the shit slapped out of you and get a little buzz going for the podcast.
You know what? Here's the sad thing. I didn't even know that was him.
He looks like a mountain man.
I had no fucking idea and didn't know it till you said. I saw a picture of him with Lawler and all of them today, and I said, "Who the hell is that?" And so I don't know. And Bob Orton.
Yeah.
Bob Orton was there. I meant to go over to him and tell him I'm a Randy Orton fan. I hated you, Bob.
If somebody's listening or watching this right now, me and BT talked about this, and I'm not knocking it. It's cool Bob Orton's there. Love me some Bob Orton.
Right.
Did Bob Orton ever – this was the Legends of Memphis FanFest. Did Bob Orton ever work in Memphis? Like I said, I know he did Knoxville famously. But I don't know of him ever being in Memphis, and I know every once in a while there's some baseball card people weren't in Memphis either, but here they were. But I got one more person I got to mention.
Okay. All right.
When you walked through the door, the first face you saw was the host of the show, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. How does Jimmy Hart not age, dude? Like, I'm sitting here looking at my mug on this camera right now, feeling old as hell. And Jimmy Hart looks exactly like he did when I saw him 20 years ago in Charlotte, and he looked like he did 20 years before that when I met him on a small show in Tupelo. Like, the guy just doesn't age, but what a great guy. I mean, he's running around there in his Hulk Hogan airbrush jacket. And one funny moment, I think it happened after you left. Jimmy Hart was popping up over there giving some awards about once every hour. And he gave Dr. D. David Schultz an award from the company that was putting on the FanFest, for preserving the integrity of the business of professional wrestling, something of that nature. And he's like, there you go, Dr. D, congratulations, baby. And David Schultz is like, well, I don't know about you calling me baby, but I'm like, Dave, he's called every person he's ever met in his entire life baby. Like, calm down. It's okay.
Jimmy is 80 years old.
Yeah,
January the 1st, he was 80, and he reminds me. I saw him up close at the hotel, and you're right, Dick Clark. He's the Dick Clark professional wrestler. He does it now. I do know, and everyone. I think this is common knowledge. He did do the hair transplant thing.
I mean, I know,
but I don't know if there's been any other kind of plastic surgery or anything. But he looks fantastic.
But he does. I know a lot of people who spend a lot of money on those types of things, but they look like they did those types of things. He at least least looks natural, and then more so to me is just he still has that same Jimmy Hart enthusiasm that he's always had. You know what I mean? Like the guy that's never had a bad day in his life, and he's happy to see. I mean, I seen him throughout the day, and it was not one time that he didn't look like he was more excited to meet the person walking up to him than they were to meet him. So I just think that's really cool. And that after all these years, if anybody could be, cynical and jaded and like, why am I back in Jonesboro?
Right.
I've been at the top of WWF and WCW. I managed the Hulkster, baby. But he was thrilled to be there, and I don't know, man. I was happy to see him, and I was glad I got to get a picture with him. And just a great guy. I want to
ask you something. Did you hear prices for it? I heard Lawler's price.
I didn't. I'll say this because I was a vendor and I was running around doing it before the show. I didn't pay for a single picture yesterday. Anything you saw of me, I didn't pay for any of them, and I bartered a couple other things.
I think they said $80.
With who? Lawler?
With Lawler, and it was $60 with Jimmy Hart.
I was fixing to tell a fun story, but it's not my story to tell. I don't want to get any
All right, we'll do it on Patreon. How's that?
Doug or anybody
All
need
right.
heat. Yeah, we can tell them Patreon.
We're gonna go to Patreon, guys. Join us. Join Patreon. It's only $5 a month, and we got over 1,100 uncut episodes right there. Thanks for joining me, Gene. Thanks for coming into my hometown there.
Thanks for having me.
Had a good time seeing you. It's been a long time. We didn't get to spend a lot of time in at StarCast together. Just, hey, how you doing? See you later, bye, kind of thing.
Yeah, we kept passing each other in line everywhere in StarCast.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. One more thing.
All right.
I feel like I'm 80 years old because at StarCast 5-6 years ago, me and Rosie got in the car when StarCast was over, and we drove 13 hours back to Coleman, Alabama, and was pretty much okay. Yesterday we drove back 6 hours from Jonesboro, and here we are, more than 14 hours later, and I still feel like I've had my ass beat and thrown off the roof of the building.
My knees were killing me last night, and I looked at my steps, and I said, something's wrong. And then I realized I really didn't walk around a lot. It was mainly standing there talking to you, and then I would go to another vendor and talk to them. But yeah, it sucks getting old, man.
Well, if I make it back to Jonesboro, I'm going to take you out for some Pizza Inn next time.
No,
we'll have to plan ahead.
I love Pizza Inn.
And I hope maybe the gun show can join us.
There we go. Brett, you can give us.
I'm not buying his because he's a big fan. He's a big TV star.
I've already got him. I have to pay for it if he comes in town. I've already told you
Fair
that.
enough.
All right, guys. Same bad time, same bad channel on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there. And as everyone knows, and Gene knows this, I love my mama.
What's not to love?
That's how I know when to cut, when I start to smile.